I went into labor on my sister-in-law's wedding day, but my mother-in-law locked me in a bathroom to keep me from stealing attention. A few hours later, I woke up in the hospital and my mother-in-law begged me not to file charges. But oh boy, her face turned pale when my husband spoke up. My husband, Richard Rick, 30, and I, 29, were blessed with a daughter 2 weeks ago. This is our first child, and we're understandably thrilled. We've been quite busy and are still adjusting to being parents. It's a difficult change for both of us, but we're doing our best. We don't have much support because of what happened the day our daughter May was born. It was one of the most horrible experiences I've ever had, and I doubt I'll ever forget it. Even the joy of May's arrival doesn't fully make up for the terrifying experience I had that day. I believe I might not have made it through if not for my husband's quick action. Despite the tragedy, I feel that because it involves family, we should be somewhat kinder to them. May is the first child in the family after all. But I'm unsure. My judgment is clouded by all these hormones and the responsibilities of having an infant, which is why I'm asking for advice here on Reddit. Please bear with me while I tell this long and complicated story. Rick has two younger sisters, Anna, 28, and Emily, 24. I have a pretty good relationship with both of them, and I don't think there's any hostility between us. We are close, though, since we're all busy with our careers and don't get together much. Emily doesn't even live in the same city as us, but we try to stay in touch through messages or phone calls. Rick's 53-year-old mother, Rachel, is also a key figure in this story. While I get along well with Anna and Emily, Rachel is a completely different story. We don't always agree, and I believe she has issues with everyone, not just me. She's the biggest control freak you could imagine and won't stop trying to get her way. Her 3 children often give in to her requests because she raised them after their father abandoned them, so they try to make things easier for her and themselves. If anyone dares to ask for anything other than what she wants, she reacts, sometimes with disapproval, other times with full-blown tantrums, complete with tears. Dealing with her is challenging, so I try to avoid her whenever possible. Rick understands this. He knows his mother is difficult, so he lets me keep my distance and handle her as I see fit. On my end, I understand his feelings for her despite her overbearing nature, so I let it go. She doesn't like me, which means she stays out of my life, and that works for all of us. However, things got out of hand a few days ago because of her actions, and now I don't think anyone will ever forgive her. Anna's wedding fell on the same day May was born. It was a beautiful ceremony, and her husband Jonah, 30, is Rick's friend. He proposed about a year ago, and Anna had asked me to be her bridesmaid. I had accepted, but when Rick and I found out I was pregnant, I had to ask her to pick someone else, because I knew I wouldn't be able to handle it. This was only 6 months before the wedding, and by that point I was already 3 months pregnant. I expected some disappointment from her, but I knew I had to prioritize. I was nervous and worried about telling her, thinking our relationship might be strained. To my surprise, nothing of the sort happened. Anna was happy when I told her. She had forgotten about the wedding for a while, and when I said I wouldn't be able to be there, she said, "Obviously, I'll take care of you." She even considered rescheduling the wedding so I wouldn't miss it, especially if May was born around that time. That didn't happen for several reasons, and she probably shouldn't have suggested it in the first place. It was a close call, but in the end, she remained supportive. Emily became the maid of honor, and I knew the 2 sisters were busy with wedding preparations, so I didn't want to trouble them too much during my difficult pregnancy. Despite that, they kept in touch and came over to offer their support, which helped me a lot. I feel a little guilty for not being there to support Anna on the most important day of her life, especially since she supported me throughout my pregnancy. The only person who was upset about the situation was my mother-in-law. I believe she was angry that I couldn't be the maid of honor anymore, which caused some disruption in the wedding plans. That seemed like the only reasonable explanation. I understood her frustration, but the tension persisted even after Anna accepted my absence. The bride wasn't upset at all, but Rachel began antagonizing me from that moment on. It was strange, but I just assumed I was on edge because of the hormones and she was on edge because of the wedding. I thought maybe I was just imagining things. I tried to ignore her as much as possible, and everything seemed mostly okay during the wedding. But things got out of hand, both physically and emotionally. I was heavily pregnant. My feet were swollen, my belly was huge, and I felt like I might faint at any moment. I still wanted to go to the wedding because Anna wanted me there. I had asked her earlier whether she truly wanted me to attend because I didn't want to distract from her special day. I told her that having a very pregnant woman at the wedding might draw attention away from her, and that wasn't something I wanted to do. Weddings are for the bride and groom, and I wouldn't want to take the spotlight. When I told Anna this, she was upset and couldn't believe I was worried about something so trivial when I should be there for her. She told me she didn't care about the attention or being in the spotlight. All she wanted was for her family to be there on her big day. She told me I needed to come and not worry about the drama. I could tell she meant it. Anna doesn't mince words. If she didn't want me there, she would have said so immediately. But she didn't. I felt it was my duty to be there for her, despite how uncomfortable I was. I knew I needed to be there for her on her wedding day. I'm not going to lie, people were whispering, but I tried to ignore them. The only thing that mattered to me at that moment was that Anna was happy I was there. Rachel didn't say much to me, but she glared at me the whole time. However, I was too uncomfortable to notice much. I didn't have the energy to deal with her or understand her passive-aggressive behavior, so I just let her be. Let her glare if she wanted. I wasn't going to respond. Then came the big moment that shocked and terrified everyone around me. Just as the ceremony was about to start, I started feeling anxious. By then, I had already met Anna and I went upstairs, thinking it would make me feel better and that I could return shortly. But when I went to the bathroom, my water broke. It was like a flood, and I started to panic because, as much as I loved my daughter, she had chosen the worst possible time to arrive. I couldn't think straight. Thankfully, I saw my mother-in-law standing in front of me. By then, I was crouching in pain. She rushed to me, and I told her to take my phone and call Rick immediately because we needed to go to the hospital. She helped me up and guided me to sit on the toilet. I gave her my phone, and that's when things took a turn. She claimed she would make sure Rick would arrive in an hour after the ceremony was over because she didn't want me to steal Anna's attention. I couldn't believe it. I asked her if she was out of her mind, told her I couldn't wait an hour, and tried to grab my phone from her. But she locked me inside and took my phone with her. There I was, about to give birth, sitting on a toilet in a bathroom, with no phone and no husband. I don't know how I didn't have a full-blown panic attack. Thank goodness I didn't, because I don't know what would have happened otherwise. I stood up, slowly made my way to the door, and started banging on it. I yelled over and over, but no one heard me because the restrooms were on the first floor, and everyone had already taken their seats for the ceremony. I screamed until my voice gave out, but no one came. That was when I truly thought I was going to die, and that my baby would die with me. I was exhausted, soaked in sweat, and unable to speak. That was the last thing I remember. I'm not sure what happened after that. I must have passed out from exhaustion. I don't remember how I ended up at the hospital, but a few hours later, I woke up there, crying, with Rick by my side. It took me a few moments to figure out where I was and what had happened. When I saw Rick crying, I feared the worst. All the memories came rushing back. My mother-in-law locking me in the bathroom, me crying, and I thought maybe May hadn't made it. But when Rick saw I was awake, he sighed in relief and began crying in my arms. I didn't know what to make of it, and I had a horrible feeling in my stomach. Then, the nurse came in holding a little baby girl, and I let out a sigh of relief. I really wanted to yell at Rick for messing with me like that, but he said he wasn't trying to play games. He was just so relieved that I was okay because when he found me in the restroom, I was unconscious. Holding my baby for the first time was a moment I'll never forget. There's no better feeling in the world. I don't think anything could ever compare to what I felt in those moments. Rick didn't give me any details at the time, which I appreciated because I didn't have the energy to handle it. I could hear commotion outside, so I asked him what was going on. He told me his mom was outside and wanted to come in and see her grandchild. I explained everything to him, telling him what his mother had done and how she had put our daughter in danger for no reason. I told him I would never allow her near May again. To me, she was dead. He said he knew everything because, when he found me in that state, she broke down and told him everything. I told him that just because she was upset didn't mean I would forgive her. Rick chuckled and said that, from that moment on, his mother was dead to him. He said he was going to file charges for endangering a life and would pursue legal action to make sure she faced consequences for what she did. When I heard that, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. I know he loves his mother, just like his siblings do. But after what she did, which may have cost me and May our lives, I wasn't in the mood to forgive her. If Rick had chosen her over me, our marriage would have ended right there, with no turning back. Deep down, I expected him to choose his mother despite everything. I knew how hard she had worked to raise them, but I didn't expect him to defend me the way he did. But I'm not complaining. If anything, it has made me love him even more. I asked him about the wedding, and he said it went well. Emily and Anna were waiting for him to call, so they could come visit us. When I asked if Anna was furious, he laughed and said I didn't have to worry about her at all. She had been beaming with pride, saying that her whole family had attended the wedding and that May's birth was the best gift she could have received. I teared up when he told me that, and I told him to call them right away. Anna, Emily, and Jonah arrived at the hospital shortly after. The best part? Anna and Jonah were still dressed for their wedding. Anna didn't want to miss the chance to take a wedding photo with her niece. I couldn't help but cry uncontrollably. It was such a heartwarming moment. After they took the photo, I apologized to Anna for ruining her day, but she hugged me and said I was misunderstanding everything. I had made her day. I told her about my mother-in-law's actions after we announced the pregnancy. Anna said the only thing I did wrong was not telling them sooner. Maybe they could have stopped her behavior. I told her I didn't want to cause any trouble, but Emily replied that any amount of difficulty was worth it as long as I was safe. Even now, as I write this, I have tears in my eyes because I realize how much they love me. They saw me as family, not just Rick's wife. Anna is one of the best women I know. She's so kind and happy, and it's no surprise she's in the wonderful place she is today. I can't understand how Rachel turned out so different from her children. It's like they saw her and decided they didn't want to be like her. It's strange, but I don't mind. It was beautiful. Apparently, my mother-in-law was still outside. Anna had told her on her way in that she would make sure Rick and I filed charges. My mother-in-law wanted to come in and see May, but I didn't want her anywhere near me. Anna said we needed to protect ourselves from her. She apologized for not addressing her mother's overprotective behavior sooner, or for not making it clear that she had no problem with my pregnancy. She said if she had, maybe the situation could have been avoided. I told Anna she had made me feel safe, and there was no way she was to blame. Rick was outside the entire time, talking with my mother-in-law. A few days later, when I was discharged and went home with May, Rick told me what he and my mother-in-law had discussed. He said he had told her that he would be filing charges and that she could deal with it because nothing would change that. He also warned her. She was never welcome in May's life. She was not her grandmother, in any way. My mother-in-law had chosen to endanger my life and my unborn child's life over a perceived slight that hadn't even bothered her. Rick also said that the money he had been giving her, since my mother-in-law had been living off Rick and Emily's support, would be significantly reduced. She burst into tears, claiming she had worked her entire life for her children and didn't deserve this. Rick said that, while he recognized and appreciated everything she had done for them, she no longer had control over their lives. He told her she was in the wrong and that he had been making excuses for her behavior for years, but no more. When it came to May and me, she needed to realize she had crossed a serious line, showing she wasn't safe to be around. Anna, on the other hand, had never had any issues. Rachel, trying to defend herself, explained that, as a mother, she understood Anna's reluctance to have me in the spotlight. But Anna overheard this and ripped into her. So, we will definitely proceed with the lawsuit, but Rick is managing it since I have a newborn to care for and can't handle the drama. Rick said he'd take care of everything. None of the siblings are willing to speak with her anymore. Anna has completely cut her off, and Emily only communicates with her when necessary. Rick and I are clearly out of touch with her. I don't think my mother-in-law expected any of this. Maybe she truly wanted to protect Anna, no matter how twisted that seems. I'm not defending her in the least, but I still feel awful for her, since everything went so wrong. Now, part of me wonders if they should talk to her. It feels wrong and horrible to me. I'm not sure if I'm thinking clearly, but if I mention this to Rick, he'll lose it. He's still so angry with her and can't even look at her right now. I didn't anticipate this, but here we are. Update 1. Well, any chance of reconciliation is out of the question forever. I realize I haven't updated in a while, but I'm a new mom now. I've been busy keeping myself and my child alive. The good news is that May turns 8 weeks old in a few days, and we're all so excited. Anna and Jonah have been a huge help to Rick and me. Emily had to go back to work, but still calls almost daily. May truly is the light of everyone's lives. They adore her, and the group chat is filled with her photos. There has been no communication with my mother-in-law. I persuaded Rick not to press charges because we had too much on our plate, and we didn't think it would serve any purpose. Rick was reluctant, but he agreed since neither of us had the energy for it. When we told my mother-in-law, she seemed grateful, because, well, she's insane, and she quickly showed her true colors again. One night, around 1 a.m., we were woken by loud banging on the door. I thought it was a break-in, so I grabbed May and hid while Rick tried to open the door. I could hear shouting, but I stayed inside because I didn't want May to wake up. It was my mother-in-law. Rick said she was acting crazy, demanding to see May, claiming we couldn't keep her away. Rick said he had to threaten her with the cops before she backed down. She was trying to force her way in. We quickly notified Anna and Emily because if something was wrong with her, everyone wanted to know. But in the end, it was for nothing. The following day, she sent us a terrifying text. She started by claiming that we were being cruel and horrible to her by not allowing her to see May, accusing us of punishing her for nothing more than being a mother. The text became more and more melodramatic as she went on. She said that she had the responsibility of raising 3 children and always had to prioritize one child's needs over another. She claimed she was doing this for May's birthday because she didn't want May to ruin Anna's special day. She conveniently forgot that May was still a fetus at the time, and that Anna herself had stated repeatedly that she had no objections to the pregnancy and the wedding happening together. But then what she said next really startled me. She expressed concern that having May in our lives would make her less valuable to her children. She assumed Anna would be upset, thinking that's how any normal woman would react. But when she saw how enthusiastic we were about both the pregnancy and the wedding, she wasn't pleased. It was clear she didn't like seeing us so happy together, celebrating with and for each other. She wanted us to be jealous, to feel competitive. When she discovered that May's due date was close to the wedding, she hoped Anna would be upset with us, and that May wouldn't steal the spotlight. But it didn't happen. Instead, everyone was talking about May. She said she felt disrespected that a baby who hadn't even been born had taken her place as the unifying force for the siblings. As she kept typing, I asked Rick to block her. I told him she was insane and dangerous to me, and to all of us. I've had a constant headache ever since reading those messages. I can't believe that a woman over 50 is competing with a 7-week-old baby. It makes no sense to me, but it doesn't need to. I'm done with her. I'm done making excuses for her actions and trying to understand her intentions. I don't care what happens to her anymore. We forwarded the messages to Anna and Emily, who were both upset. They suspect she may be having a manic episode. Emily said she would visit to have my mother-in-law checked out at a facility. I think that's a good idea, but I'll stay out of it. This behavior is insane, and I no longer want anything to do with her. Update 2. We now have a restraining order against my mother-in-law. She hasn't tried anything further, but we're still being cautious. Emily had her tested by both a psychologist and a psychiatrist. The doctors said everything was okay with her, and she was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. There was no underlying medical cause for her behavior, and the doctors advised Emily to seek therapy. Emily hasn't had any contact with her since. She said she would be willing to help if something was wrong, but she can't stand her mother anymore. I completely understand and share Emily's feelings. If my mother-in-law had a psychological issue, I might have been sympathetic and tried to help her. But now that it's been ruled out, we know who she really is. There's no way to reconcile things with her. This is why we sought the restraining order. May's safety is the most important thing to Rick and me, and my mother-in-law has already proven herself to be dangerous twice. She also harbors deep resentment toward May, so we have to take extra precautions to keep them apart. I believe this will be my final update, and I sincerely hope I never have to share anything more about this whole situation. Thank you for reading. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more real-life stories like this.